Kamala Harris has come a long way since her humble beginning in 1964. From her start as a teen activist to her time as the first black woman vice president, there's a lot you might not know about the Democratic Party's newest candidate for the presidency. Kamala Harris's background is as eclectic as the melting pot that is America. Her father, Donald J. Harris, was born and raised in Jamaica, while her late mother, Dr. Shyamala Gopalan, came to the U.S. from India. From an early age, Kamala Harris was exposed to the various strands of her cultural heritage, which included her father's Christianity and her mother's Hinduism. As Harris recalled during a 2017 speech, she attended a Baptist church where she sang in the choir. Meanwhile, her mother also regularly took her to a Hindu temple. She recalled how her mom wanted to foster an understanding that the pursuit of justice is something that underlies many faiths. These days, Harris identifies as a Baptist. When living in California, she'd regularly attend services at the Third Baptist Church of San Francisco. The church's pastor, renowned civil rights leader Reverend Amos C. Brown, told Sojourners, "She came to this church because she knew our ways, she knew our history. This church has always had a balanced spirituality, social justice, and personal fulfillment and salvation." When Harris married her husband Doug Emhoff, Judaism entered the mix. Emhoff said in his speech at the 2024 Democratic National Convention, "She comes to synagogue with me for high holiday day services, and I go to church with her for Easter." Harris frequently brings up her faith during speeches to this day.
Guided by our faith, let us be able to see what can be, unburdened by what has been.
Kamala Harris has always been proud of her Indian heritage, and it's right there in her name. Kamala, in fact, is a Sanskrit word meaning lotus flower, which holds major significance in Indian culture. Harris reflected on this in her memoir, The Truths We Hold, writing, "A lotus grows underwater, its flower rising above the surface while its roots are planted firmly in the river bottom." Kamala is also a name for an incarnation of the Hindu goddess Lakshmi. Harris's middle name, Devi, is also taken from that of a Hindu deity. Her mother, Shyamala, saw to it that both Harris and her sister Maya bore names inspired by Hinduism. The reason, Shyamala told the Los Angeles Times, was so that the Indian side of their heritage would remain a part of their respective identities. She explained, "A culture that worships goddesses produces strong women." With her stepchildren, though, Harris goes by a different name, Mamala. When Kamala Harris was on the cusp of her teen years, her mother got a job teaching at Canada's McGill University, which led the family to move to Montreal for a time. It was there that 13-year-old Harris predicted her political future by leading a demonstration at the apartment complex where they lived, protesting a rule that forbade children from playing on the lawn. Fortunately for young Kamala, the protest succeeded and the restriction was lifted. The value of activism is something that Kamala grew up understanding. Wanda Kagan, a high school classmate of hers, told the Mercury News, "She's always been a fighter, even from those early days. She always was sticking up for other people." CNN analyst and lawyer Areva Martin met Harris when they were college students, and the two have remained friends over the years. Martin told The Guardian, "If you hear her talking about growing up with her parents who were very active in the civil rights movement, it's in her DNA. She was at marches in a stroller." That now legendary family story took place at a civil rights march that her parents attended when she was a toddler. According to the Los Angeles Times, when her mother asked her what she wanted, little Harris declared, "Freedom." Ahead of the 2020 presidential election, Kamala Harris appeared on the radio show The Breakfast Club, where she was asked to clarify her position on the legalization of marijuana. The former district attorney joked, "Half my family's from Jamaica, are you kidding me?" After that, she was asked a more personal question, to which she gave another joking answer.
Have you ever smoked?
I have.
Okay. Like in
And
college,
I inhaled. I did inhale.
Okay.
That response wasn't exactly funny to her father. As the New Yorker reported, Donald J. Harris issued a statement through a website serving Jamaican diaspora worldwide, which read in part, "My deceased parents must be turning in their grave right now to see their family's name, reputation, and proud Jamaican identity being connected in any way, jokingly or not, with the fraudulent stereotype of a pot-smoking joy seeker, and in the pursuit of identity politics. Speaking for myself and my immediate Jamaican family, we wish to categorically dissociate ourselves from this travesty." When asked by The New Yorker to reveal her feelings about being dressed down in public by her dad, Harris simply responded, "He's entitled to his opinion." Back in the 1990s, Kamala Harris was an on-the-rise San Francisco prosecutor when she began dating Willie Brown, a legendary California political power broker who served as mayor of San Francisco from 1996 until 2004. In 1995, San Francisco Chronicle columnist Herb Cain reported that his long affair with Harris, which had begun the previous year, had come to an end. The news, Kane observed, was greeted with shock by those who'd found the charming and razor-sharp Harris to be an ideal match for the mayor, despite an age difference of nearly 3 decades between them. Kane wrote, quoting a mutual friend of theirs, "Willie has finally graduated from girls to a woman." The relationship resurfaced in 2019 when Harris threw her hat into the presidential race in a bid to become the Democratic nominee. Brown responded with a brief op-ed for the San Francisco Chronicle, acknowledging the relationship and the fact that he played a part in getting her political career off the ground by appointing her to state commissions when he was Speaker of the Assembly. He defended himself by arguing that he also helped out plenty of other California Democrats over the years, including Nancy Pelosi and Gavin Newsom. However, he pointed out that Harris never gave him any special treatment, writing, "The difference is that Harris is the only one who, after I helped her, sent word that I would be indicted if I so much as jaywalked while she was DA." If Kamala Harris is elected president, she'll become the first woman and the first black woman to be raised to America's highest office. Harris, of course, is no stranger to being a trailblazer and can already boast several prior firsts throughout her career. For example, Harris was the first black woman to be San Francisco's district attorney. Then, when she was elected as the Attorney General of California, she set another record as the first black person and the first woman to serve as the state's AG, before becoming a senator and launching a failed presidential bid during her first term. Harris's former communications director, Gil Duran, told BBC News that she harbored presidential ambitions after just a few years in Washington. He admitted, "Many people didn't think she had the discipline and focus to ascend to a position in the White House so quickly, although people knew she had ambition and star potential." Of course, Harris made history all over again when Joe Biden invited her to be his vice presidential running mate, the first time a black woman from a major party had ever been a candidate for that office. Then, when she and Biden were victorious in 2020, she placed a few more firsts on her resume by becoming the first black and South Asian vice president, the first female VP, and ultimately the Democrats' first ever black female nominee for president. For Kamala Harris, becoming Attorney General of California during the 2010 midterm election was a hard-fought race. Conventional wisdom held that she had little hope of being elected to a role that had always, without exception, gone to a white man. That said, the race proved to be closer than anyone had predicted. When the votes were initially tallied, it appeared that she and her Republican opponent, Los Angeles' District Attorney Steve Cooley, were neck and neck. Cooley declared victory on Election Day after 99% of the precincts had reported their results, but his celebration was premature. When all the precincts had finally reported and the dust was settled, it was Harris who was declared the victor, albeit by the slimmest of margins and 3 weeks after election night. She won by less than 1 percentage point. Of the 9.6 million or so votes that had been cast, she received just 74,000 more than Cooley did. According to her former campaign manager, Brian Brokaw, there was one key factor that pushed Harris over the top. As he told Roll Call, she just simply outworked him. History was against her. The electoral dynamic was against her. Everybody just assumed that the Democrats were going to win all the statewide races except for that one. That was the conventional wisdom, and she defied it. When Kamala Harris has some time on her hands, an increasingly rare occurrence these days, she loves to spend it in the kitchen. As she told The Atlantic, cooking is something of a hobby for her, a way to unwind while also trying out new recipes from the New York Times' food section. A curious foodie, Harris has cooked nearly every dish in Alice Waters' cookbook, The Art of Simple Food. Her tried-and-true dinner is a simple roast chicken, as she explained. Salt, olive oil, a lemon, garlic, pepper, some good mustard. You can do almost anything with those ingredients. Harris inherited her love of cooking from her mother, who, as a busy professional, prepped the coming week's meals on the weekend. She recalled in an interview with Glamour, "As a child, I remember hearing the pots and smelling the food, and kind of like someone in a trance, I would walk into the kitchen to see all this incredible stuff happening. My mother used to tell me, 'Kamala, you clearly like to eat good food. You better learn how to cook.'" Harris is always happy to share her culinary secrets, like when she tweeted out the recipe for her signature cornbread dressing ahead of Thanksgiving. As busy as she is, though, she's insistent about gathering her family together on Sundays for dinner whenever possible.
But Sunday family dinner is my thing, to stay focused and to keep some normalcy.
When Joe Biden announced that he was dropping out of the 2024 presidential race, leaving Vice President Kamala Harris as his heir apparent, she received plenty of social media support from celebrities across America. That said, her most impactful endorsement initially came from British pop star Charli XCX, who simply tweeted, "Kamala is brat." This might sound like an insult to someone out of the know, but to Charli XCX's fans, who celebrated Brat's summer in celebration of the musician's newest album, It's the ultimate compliment. Charli explained the meaning of brat in a TikTok interview, saying, "You are just that girl who is a little messy and likes to party and maybe says dumb things sometimes, who feels herself but then also maybe has a breakdown but parties through it. It's very honest, it's very blunt, and a little bit volatile. That's brat." Even though that's not exactly the ideal temperament for a presidential candidate, Harris's PR team didn't waste time getting in on the fun. On the Kamala HQX account, the banner was changed to resemble the album's monochrome green design, but with the word Kamala replacing the album title. Harris and her campaign even went a step further as the campaign sponsored Spotify's official This Is Charli XCX playlist. Kamala Harris's foodie cred has been well established, but she's not immune to the occasional foray into junk food. Whenever a craving for savory snacks rears its hungry head, Harris will inevitably be found with one hand plunged into a bag of Doritos. The flavored chips are her guilty pleasure, which she revealed during an interview with MSNBC's Morning Joe. Doritos are also one way in which Harris will drown her sorrows. Such was the case when Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton in the 2016 presidential election. While watching the election results pour in with her husband, she took comfort in the chips. As she wrote in her memoir, "I sat down on the couch with Doug and ate an entire family-size bag of classic Doritos. Didn't share a single chip." She recounted that same story in a campaign email, writing, "I just watched the TV with utter shock and dismay. Two things are true 8 years later. I still love Doritos, and we still have not stopped fighting."